Hey guys, got a plant I want to show you. This right here is clammy ground cherry. If you've ever had tomatillos, or if you've heard of Chinese lanterns, that's basically what this is. It's related to the tomato plant. It's in the same family as tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers. Gets a flower that looks like a tomato or pepper flower. So if you grow peppers or tomatoes, you know what the flowers look like. Gets a little fruit on it that's enclosed in a little sheath. This one's pretty small. Let me sit you down here. Now the sheath will start out green, like this. First it'll be a flower, then it'll get this sheath, which will be green. And as it gets ripe, it'll turn yellow and brown, and you can open it up. And there's a little fruit inside. These are only maybe a 1/4 inch, but they'll get up to about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch if you're lucky. But they're so sweet, I had to share it with you. Some sources say the fruit of the clammy ground cherry is bitter, but it's only bitter when it's not quite ripe. They start out green and then they turn yellow when they're ripe, and these are fully ripe here. Let's see if we can find some more. These plants only get a couple feet tall, so they can be kind of hard to find in the grass, and they tend to grow in really dry fields, places where other plants don't grow very well, usually in with grasses, and they'll be hidden down in there. There's a clammy ground cherry, which has fine white hairs on the leaves. And then there's a smooth ground cherry, which is smooth. Otherwise, they're pretty much the same. The leaves may look a little different, but you'll recognize either one in the field. There's a toxic plant that looks similar to this, except it'll have little thorns on the stem, and the fruit won't be encased in a little sheath like that. And that's Solanum carolinense. Carolina horse nettle is the common name of the toxic one. But like I said, the fruit won't be inside a sheath, and it'll actually have thorns on the stem, so it's real easy to differentiate. The Latin name for this is Physalis heterophylla, and the Latin name of the smooth ground cherry is Physalis subglabrata, for those who like the Latins. But I grow tomatillos in my garden, and it's pretty much the same thing, just a little smaller fruit. This is another tiny one. Let's see if we can find some that are maybe just a little bigger. You can kind of squeeze it and feel how big the fruit is inside. Now here's a couple big ones. That fruit's probably about a 1/2 inch inside there, but they're not quite ripe because that sheath is still green. These ones will probably be starting to turn yellow inside, but they'll still have a little green and be a little bitter. Now this plant and the fruit are toxic. Sorry about that. But the plant and fruit are toxic, and only the fruit is edible, and only when it's ripe. Now there's different species depending on where in the world or country you live, but these plants are pretty widespread, so it's likely you have a similar physalis species in your area, and it may ripen red or orange or possibly even purple. I know some of the, like the wild or the domestic tomatillos that I grow, they get to be about that big around and they turn a dark purple color, but they're not nearly as sweet and juicy as these. These are almost as good as wild strawberries. I saw the size of them and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty meager, but of all the wild fruits I've eaten, I think wild strawberries are one of the sweetest and juiciest too. And these are right there, right up there with them. They can be pretty abundant. I mean, you'll find I know some really sandy, gravelly fields that don't have a lot of, even the grass doesn't grow very well. But these ground cherries will be everywhere because they don't have any competition. Oops, sorry about that. And the light, they don't need as much water. They're really drought tolerant, and they can grow in places where other plants don't. They spread by rhizomes, little roots, so you can propagate them that way if you wanted to grow your own. Or you could also gather the ripe fruit and save the seeds and grow them in your yard or your garden. And if you grew them in a place with really good soil and you took care of them like a vegetable in your garden, the fruit would probably get a lot bigger and the plants would be bigger and have a lot more fruit. But that's pretty much it. Clammy ground cherry, Physalis heterophylla. It's a good edible fruit that you can find late in the late summer, early fall here in southern Michigan. Thanks for watching.